ẹranko tí ó ṣe bí olólàájú kò sí nígbó àjíkẹ́ adé erin lákàtà gbérin àwa gòkè á lọ ìyẹ́lẹ̀ ó máa wò lẹ́yìn ẹyẹ wa lọ́jọ́kọjọ́ nígbàkúgbà bàbá ni bàbá ń jẹ́ lọ́jọ́kọjọ́ nígbàkúgbà bàbá ni bàbá ń ṣe. We lead while others follow. We lead while others follow. Vicinity FM ọ̀gálàjẹ́ Adéọlá Noite ló ní ẹ̀ máa gbọ́. Mo fọwọ́ ẹ̀ sọ̀yà. We lead while others follow. Vicinity FM àwa ní bàbá. We lead while others follow. Àwa lọ̀gá àwa làgbà wọn lọ́jọ́kọjọ́. 95.
Radio just got excited.
Let's go.
This is
Vicinity FM 95.3. News from around the world. Vicinity FM 95.3.
This is Vicinity 95.3 FM, Kejile Ijisha. The time is 12 o'clock. I am Paul Eteng with Global News. First, the headline. Food expert tax government to secure farming communities amid insecurity. United States imposes sanction on Sudan over use of chemical weapons amid conflict with armed group. And Japan food crisis fuels public outrage. Now on the news in full. Federal government has been tasked to deploy security personnel to farming communities across the country to ensure the safety of farmers and improve food production. And agricultural expert Ambassador Segun Alabi, in a media chat with members of the House of Representatives, press calls in Abuja, described Nigeria's vast-arable land, favorable climate, and abundant labor force present an opportunity for sustainable economic growth. With the prevailing insecurity in rural areas, Alabi lamented the event has continued to deter farmers from cultivating land, hindering the sector's full potential in addressing unemployment and contributing to economic development. As agriculture remains the country's economic largest sector, contributing an average of 24% to the nation's GDP and employing over 36% of the labor force. The food experts maintain that national food security and economic prosperity are achievable through a secure and vibrant agricultural sector. The League of Northern Democrats, LND, has declared its support for a coalition by opposition leaders and aiming to unseat President Bola Ahmed Tinubu in the 2027 general election. At the end of its expanded General Assembly held in Abuja, the group resolved to align with the National Opposition Coalition Group, chaired by former Senate President David Mark, to drive a transitional political process ahead of the next election cycle. The meeting, chaired by the group chairman and former Kano State Governor, Senator Ibrahim Shekarau, had 147 leaders and members in attendance, committed to contributing to ongoing deliberations on whether to register a political party or merge with an existing one. In its resolution, the group decided to convene a broader meeting of northern political and civil societies group to harmonize the region's position ahead of 2017. United States will impose sanctions on Sudan after finding revealed the Sudanese government used chemical weapons during its conflict with the Rapid Support Forces. The decision made under U.S. law in April found the government in violation of the International Chemical Weapons Convention. The sanctions are set to take effect around June 6 and will include restriction on U.S. exports and government-backed credit. Sudan has strongly denied the allegations, calling them false and politically motivated. U.S. officials say the chemical weapons were likely chlorine gas, reportedly used to at least twice in remote areas last year. The U.S. had earlier imposed sanctions on key military figures, Army Chief Abdel Fattah al-Burhan and RSF leader Mohammed Hamdan Dagalo, accusing both sides of committing war crimes and atrocities during the conflict. Botswana has called for Brussels to lead more strategic investment in the country. Foreign Minister Fenyo Botale believes there is room for more in maintaining excellent relations with the EU to improve trade and ensure China and Europe benefit mutually from the relationship. Botale's call for more trade and investment with the EU comes amid a 37% trade tariff imposed by Trump administration on Botswana, one of the hardest hit nations in Africa. The country's economy, which is reliant on diamond exports, contracted last year by 3.1% due to weak global demand. Once regarded as one of the world's fastest growing economies, Botswana is optimistic its economy will rise after a forecast suggests an expected 3.3% growth this year. Israeli tanks have reportedly shelled Al-Awda hospital in Gaza, Tel Al-Zata area, setting part of the facility on fire and causing severe damage. The strike targeted the hospital's third floor, heat, fuel, and medication storage areas, according to the hospital director, Dr. Mohammed Salha Al-Awda. One of the two operational hospitals in northern Gaza now faces a dire situation as medical infrastructure in the region continues to collapse. The Israeli military has stated it had no plan targeting the hospital and it's investigating the cause of the explosions. This incident comes amid escalating violence in Gaza. The ongoing attack on hospitals have prompted urgent calls for adherence to international humanitarian law and the safeguarding of critical healthcare service. This is Vicinity 95.3 FM, Kejile Ijisha. Global news will continue shortly. For news updates and live streaming, visit our website at vicinity953fm.com.ng. Send us an email to vicinitynewsroom@gmail.com or call 081-436-58302 for breaking news. You can also follow us on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok at Vicinity 95.3 FM. Now the rest of the news. Japan is experiencing a severe rice crisis as prices of the staple food have nearly doubled over the past year, reaching 5,000 yen for a 5 kg bag of premium rice. Despite emergency interventions like tapping into reserves, the government has struggled to control prices. The crisis has deepened political troubles for Prime Minister Shigeru Ishiba, whose approval ratings have dropped amid public frustration. The resignation of Agricultural Minister Taku Eto over insensitive remarks for further fueled criticism. The country is facing a broader inflation challenges with core inflation at 3.5% and food prices at 7% in April, driven by supply chain disruption and labor shortage in agriculture. Finance ministers from the G7 nations concluded the summit in the Canadian Rockies with a strong warning to Russia, noting further sanctions could be imposed if Moscow refuses to agree to a ceasefire in its ongoing war against Ukraine. The G7 condemned Russia's continued brutal war and affirmed their readiness to escalate economic pressure, warning countries financially supporting Russia's war effort would be barred from participating in Ukraine's post-war reconstruction. Though no specific nations were named, Russia's sovereign assets held in G7 jurisdictions would remain frozen until the Kremlin halts its aggression and agrees to pay repatriation. Canadian Finance Minister François-Philippe Champagne called the stance a key pillar of the group's strategy to supporting Ukraine and upholding international accountability. A U.S. federal judge blocked the Trump administration from dismantling the Department of Education, marking the first time a judge declared the extensive changes of the administration to the department as unlawful. Judge Myung Joon, from the U.S. District Court for the District of Massachusetts, issued a preliminary injunction prohibiting the administration from dismissing half of the department's employees and shifting the management of federal student loans to the Small Business Administration. U.S. President Donald Trump has long criticized the department, urging that in spite of significant federal investment in education, the quality of education has not met expectations, citing low proficiency in reading and math among students in U.S. elementary, middle, and high schools. On a bit of sports, Luka Modric has announced he will leave Real Madrid this summer after a distinguished 12-year career with the club. The 39-year-old Croatian midfielder will play his final home game against Real Sociedad on Saturday before concluding his tenure following Madrid's FIFA World Cup campaign in June. Since joining in 2012, Modric has won 28 trophies, including 6 Championship League titles and 4 La Liga crowns, and claimed the 2018 Ballon d'Or. This season, Modric made 34 league appearances, registering 2 goals and 6 assists, and played in every Champions League match until Madrid's quarter-final exit. His departure marks the end of an era coinciding with the exit of head coach Carlo Ancelotti. Bayer Leverkusen's boss Xabi Alonso is reportedly set to take over, ushering a new chapter at the Santiago Bernabeu. To end global news, another look at the headlines. Federal government has been tasked to deploy security personnel to farming communities across the country to ensure the safety of farmers and improve food production. We told you that United States to impose sanctions on Sudan after finding revealed the Sudanese government used chemical weapons during its conflict with the Rapid Support Forces. And lastly, you heard Japan is faced with severe rice crisis as prices of the staple food have nearly doubled for over the past year. The crisis has deepened political troubles for Prime Minister Shigeru Ishiba, whose approval ratings have dropped amid public frustration. That was Global News. It was edited by Oluwafunke Israel. On behalf of the production crew, I am Paul Eteng. Thanks for listening. Please stay tuned for news nationwide at 6 o'clock. Good afternoon.